There it is. We're going live. Awesome. Team, thanks so much for joining us tonight on Path to the Pros. We're super excited because we have Joe Schobert joining us. You know, one of the questions that we get often from young athletes at the high school level, even the college level, as well as the parents of these athletes, is what does it take to get to the pros? And our quick response, and it's an honest response, is we don't have a secret sauce. We don't have a quick fix, and we don't have all the answers simply because every athlete has a different path that they have taken. And Joe has plenty to share on this one because I'm super excited to learn about Joe. When Aaron and I met Joe earlier, before we got onto the show, this a couple of weeks back, Joe took us through his journey, and it was just absolutely astonishing for me, somebody who actually played football at the collegiate level, and listening to other athletes. Joe's path is a little bit different, and I want to go ahead and take this opportunity to introduce you to Joe. Joe, thanks so much for joining us. Tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing now, and then we'll get into your path to the pros.
Sounds good, Thomas. Thanks for having me. Like you said, Joe Schobert. I'm currently based in Castle Rock, Colorado, and my wife and I own a dance studio together. And it's recital season, the thick of recital season, so we've been all hands on deck getting ready and getting prepped for that.
Awesome. So, but you're not originally from Colorado. Where are you from? Where were your formative years, and when did you start playing football?
Yeah, I'm originally from Wisconsin, Waukesha, Wisconsin. I loved football for as long as I can remember, and I started playing flag football in kindergarten, first grade, tackle football in fourth or in fifth grade, and that was the best. I was just waiting for tackle football. We were playing flag football. I was probably playing tackle football, and had to be reined in a little bit by my parents, so I didn't go out there tackling kids too much because you used to get penalties for it. I remember that.
Sure. Oh, yeah, I bet. So before we get into tackle football, what do you think about the surgence of flag football, both at the young men, but also at the women's level?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. It's a more accessible sport for everybody. There's all you need is a couple flags and a football, and you can go on a field and play flag football. You don't need all the equipment, all the costs that come with the equipment for playing tackle football. So I think it's a great opportunity for young kids, girls, whoever wants to play. It's an easy access, easily available sport, kind of like basketball is. There's all around the world, all around the country. Just something you can just grab a ball and a couple flags and go out and have some fun.
Right on. Now, I'm guessing you were a two-sport athlete as well, right? Because most athletes that we have talked to that go on to the pros have played multiple sports at the high school level.
Yeah, I played football in the fall, basketball in the winter, track in the spring, and then in Wisconsin when I was in high school, we had baseball in the summer. So I played those four. So I was doing something all year round, always active, always doing something different, but always competing.
That's awesome. And when did you zero in and knew that you wanted to? So how old were you when you knew you wanted to go and play pro sports? And how did you narrow it down to football?
I think, yeah, as like a lot of kids, I always wanted to play pro sports. When I was growing up, I vividly remember late elementary school, early middle school, probably. It was just during basketball season, I was going to go to the NBA. During baseball season, I was going to go to the MLB. And during football season, I was going to go to the NFL. Like every season, my dream changed just a little bit, but I was going to go pro in that sport. And I was all in for the season. And then we switched sports, and then it changed to the next one. So, like I said, it's always been a dream. I was just luckier than most to be able to chase it.
Right on. So you set a state championship rushing record with 296 yards, 38, and then you'd be the best linebackers in the country. What type of versatility does that give an athlete to play both sides?
Yeah, I think I played running back for as long as I can remember. Growing up, LaDainian Tomlinson was like one of my favorite players, and that's why my dad tried to make me be a quarterback. He said that's the best position to be on offense. I said, no, I want to be a running back like LT. And then because of that, I played running back and linebacker growing up like my whole life. I think it really helped just being able to see, especially from a defensive side of the ball, being able to anticipate where the person with the ball is going to be able to go. You kind of see the same holes. You make the same kind of quick judgments, and you I found out you end up being in the same spot a lot of times. So then it's just who can get there first and who can get there fastest with the most force behind it. Yep.
So with playing multiple sports, playing both sides of the ball, not a single Division I scholarship came your way, zero recruiting rankings. And when you look back at that, what was that like to live through that as a 17 or 18-year-old with these athletes right now that want to go to play at the next level, even if it's just college?
Yeah, for sure. It was a different time. Obviously, it was pre-social media. It was like the very beginning of social media, but you weren't really using social media for recruiting or recruiting services. And I was in Wisconsin, so the only football school, Division I football school in Wisconsin is the University of Wisconsin, and then there's no Division II schools, and then there's a bunch of Division III schools. So I think like recruiting in Wisconsin, so at that time it was a very under-recruited state. And I was on, like I said, we won a state championship, so it was one of the best teams in the state, and I was one of the best players on the team, if not the best player on the team. And I went to camps. I went around the country, around the Midwest mostly, and performed well doing camps with other high school kids. And it just, it always felt like every time I talked to a coach at the end of camp, they're like, "Oh, we love what you're doing. We're going to call in a week or two and we're going to have a scholarship for you. We just got to get our number settled or whatever." And then, a week or two would go by and never hear anything. And it happened a lot of times. But my parents just they instilled a work ethic and discipline, whether it was with school or sports. Like when you say you're going to do something, you have to do it. You got to finish it out. You're not going to quit before you do what you said you were going to do. So I just kept trusting the process and working through it. And the University of Wisconsin always just had a great walk-on program. So in the back of my mind, I always believed in myself. I was like, if I'm not going to get a scholarship, I'm going to walk on and go somewhere. And this guy's done that Joe Thomas, Jim Leonard, all these guys, J.J. Watts, like there's a precedence and I can follow in their footsteps and do the same thing they did. And that was the kind of belief I had in myself at that age.
Sure. You were literally about to walk on at North Dakota when Wisconsin called the day before that you were supposed to leave. Walk us through that 24 hours and what did it feel like?
Yeah, I was committed to go to University of North Dakota as a walk-on. My recruiting really came down between them and Drake University in Iowa, and Drake was in the Pioneer League and a good academic school, but they didn't offer any Pioneer League's kind of like the Ivy League of FCS football. They don't offer scholarships. It's just go play your sport and then go to school and get a good education. But they were more expensive than North Dakota, and I had a good visit with the coaching staff at University of North Dakota and a good visit with the academic side of things as well, and was really settled in what I wanted to do there. And then I ended up playing in a high school all-star game in July, the WFCA all-star game. And the coaches of that team, like through the week of practice before the game, were asking me where I was going to go, where I was going to school. And they couldn't believe I was walking on at North Dakota because I was practicing so well with all the other guys on that team. And there's a couple of Wisconsin recruits and a bunch of other Division I recruits to different schools. And then so after playing in that game, Wisconsin called and North Dakota State called and Northern Illinois called. A bunch of people called me after that game with various offers. I think, if I remember correctly, Northern Illinois was like a gray shirt offer, which I don't even know if gray shirting is a thing anymore, but that's like go to school for the fall semester and then you join the team in the spring semester and you get a scholarship then. And then North Dakota State wanted me to sit out a semester, and my mom was like, "Nope, you're not sitting out any semesters of college. You're getting out of my house and you're going to college, and starting your education. You're not going to sit around." And then Wisconsin was going to be a preferred walk-on, but I hadn't applied to any of these schools at that point in time because I didn't think I was going to any of them. So I had to really hurry up and submit an application to the University of Wisconsin. That was like July 20th, and training camp started like August 8th or something. And so I submitted my application as quickly as possible, and it was just a waiting game to see if I would get through admissions or not in time. Because, like I said, if I didn't get through admissions and I wasn't going to be able to go to school in the fall, I think it would have been a big tussle with my mother if I could hang on and wait to go to Wisconsin in the spring, or if I was going to pack up and go to North Dakota the next day. So like I said, the day before I was supposed to leave to North Dakota, I called, or the head coach of Wisconsin at the time, Brett Bielema, called me and said, "Hey, like, I know you're supposed to leave tomorrow for North Dakota, or that's your plan. You haven't been accepted yet, but I just talked to the admissions office and they assured me that you will be accepted for the fall semester. There's just a couple steps that they have to go through paperwork wise. But if you want to come here, you have a spot on the team and at school in the fall." And as soon as I said that, Mom gave me the thumbs up, and it was off. Instead of a 10-hour drive, it was a 1-hour drive, and as the home state school, I was happy to represent.
Mom pulled through again. You walked onto Wisconsin as a preferred walk-on with zero scholarship. What was it like being in the locker room knowing you had to earn everything the other guys already had?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the good thing about Wisconsin is there's such a big walk-on tradition there that when I walked in, besides the fact that I was a really late addition to the roster, I didn't have any cleats. I remember the first practice, I was wearing some like blue shoes because that's the only shoes I had that I brought from home. And Brett Bielema was like, "What are you wearing? Like, who do you think you are?" I'm like, "I don't have any cleats. I didn't get any shoes in my locker." And he turned and yelled at the equipment manager, like, "Get this guy some shoes," because you had to wear team issued stuff. Everybody had to be the same. But past that, once you got on the field, like nobody really knew who was a walk-on or who was a scholarship guy for the incoming kids. I mean, like there's obviously some high-profile recruits and stuff, and some big guys who had been there for a long time that you generally knew. But once you got in the door, you were treated the same. It just came down to if you got stipend checks every month or not, basically, if you had to pay for school. But on the field and in the locker room, it was even playing field. And once I got onto the field, because I think growing up, especially playing football, you idolize, like when you're in middle school, you idolize the high schoolers because they're so much bigger, faster. The game just looks so fast when you're down there on the sidelines watching the game on Friday nights, and then you go to your recruiting visits and you watch the college games and you to see how much faster and how much bigger the guys are, and you just kind of like there's an intimidation factor. But when I stepped on the field in training camp my freshman year, I was like, hold on a second, like I'm one of the best athletes out here. At that point in my life, I was probably 210 pounds, lifting heavy weights and flying around. It's probably the most athletic I've ever been. And that just going in and getting reps against the guys who'd been there for 3 or 4 years and winning a lot of my reps was just a big confidence boost for me. And I knew at that point in time, I just needed to get stronger. Like athletically, I was fitting in. I just needed to get stronger and build a base to be able to deal with the physicality of Big Ten football. I was like, if I trust the process and do what the coaches tell me, and there's no stopping how far I could go.
I love that. In your freshman year, you played 5 games and you had 0 recorded stats, but you were named Scout Defensive Player of the Year and earned a scholarship. What did that teach you about showing up when nobody is watching?
Yeah, I mean, like scout teamwork, especially in college, especially at big time programs, is it's a grind, but it's also a really big like glue. It's kind of like in the military going through boot camp. Like you're going with your other freshmen, your sophomores, the young developmental guys, and you're just getting thrown in the flames against the starting offense, or in my case, starting offense. So I was a scout team defense with like Travis Frederick was a center, and he went on to play 7-8 years in the NFL, all pro level. Like I was lining up against him when I was a 215 pound linebacker, and he's a big 330 pound senior, just like one of the strongest humans you'll ever meet. And you're just going through the fire. You got to line up and you got to hit that A gap, and Travis is going to block you, and there's no avoiding it, because if you try to do something else, you'll get yelled at. The coaches know exactly what they want you to do. And so there's a big structure kind of built in the scout team. But if you can start making plays within that structure, that's how you kind of getting eyes turning to you. And there's quite a few times I remember that year where I was doing specific jobs that the scout team, the offensive coaches wanted me to do because I was well matched up to play again, or to mimic some of the good players on the defense. And I think that, again, just kind of built confidence because I was winning some scout team reps, and you're never supposed to win your scout team reps really. So I started to win quite a few of them, like in the middle and towards the end of my freshman year. And that was just a big confidence boost for me. And then I also, like I said, I got to travel. I got to play special teams a little bit. I got to experience the speed of the game. I got to experience the travel, and the kind of the process of going to the hotel the night before, doing your meetings, like getting locked in, going through breakfast in the morning, like getting to the stadium, all that kind of process without a ton of stress on me to be able to have to perform as a starting football player. So it was a really good learning experience for me.
Awesome. And walk us through the moment that you found out you earned a scholarship. What did that mean to you, and what did you do when you found out?
Yeah, I mean, that was huge. Mine was kind of anticlimactic. It was during training camp going into my sophomore year. We had Brett Bielema, my coach, my freshman year, had left right before the bowl game to go to Arkansas in the SEC. And then Gary Anderson came in from Utah State. And so I had worked my way up to second on the depth chart at will linebacker for the bowl game, behind a senior named Mike Taylor. And then Gary Anderson coming in the spring ball. They don't really know anything about the whole staff. I end up like fourth or fifth string outside linebacker. And then at the start of spring football, and by the end of spring ball, I was back up to number 2 on the depth chart when I was starting behind another senior. And then going into training camp, we were kind of rotating. It was kind of a rotational piece between me and him because he was a very smart and good football player, but he had a lot of dinged up injuries, so he wasn't moving super well. And I was a young, fresh body who was a lot more athletic, but had a lot less experience. So we were kind of a good tandem punch there. But going into that fall camp, one of the players had to medically retire, and then Coach Anderson called me into the office like a week into it and said, "Hey, we're going to give you this guy's scholarship because it's just been freed up. Like, we're not going to have any announcement or anything. Just know you're going to be on scholarship from now." And I'm like, "Yep, that works for me." And I just called my parents and said, "Hey, you don't have to pay for school anymore. Like my 521 or whatever it is can go to my sister wherever she needs to go to school." So that was a pretty good feeling, being able to call my parents and tell them like they didn't have to pay for school anymore and didn't have to pay for my eating habits, trying to gain weight in college.
That's awesome. And by your senior year, you were named the nation's best linebacker, the Jack Lambert Trophy, first team All-American, Big Ten linebacker of the year. You went from 0 offers to being the best in the country. What happened in between that most people never see?
Yeah, I think that's a lot of just weight room dedication, trusting the process. Wisconsin's known as a developmental school. Especially when I was there, we had a very good weight room staff and a very good coaching staff. And they put us in. Dave Aranda was my defensive coordinator. He was a NFL level defensive coordinator. He put us in positions to have to think, to be able to play well, and building that trust in yourself on the field to be able to play fast and to trust the process and just go through it was a huge step. And then obviously countless hours in the weight room, all off season, all summer, just working and running and trusting that if you're lifting weights, if you're pushing yourself every single day, like, it's going to suck when you're in it, but just those little steps that add up over time. I remember after my freshman year, like going into my sophomore year, I had like a goal, like I was going to bench this much, squat this much, run this fast. And like we tested every couple of like months basically. And like my squat, like just getting under a bar and just kind of building and being able to track it. My squat went up through the roof. My bench went up through the roof. My sprinting times just kept creeping up faster and faster and faster. And all of a sudden, like a year or two later, like I'm competing with everybody at the school, not just the linebackers, but the receivers and the offensive linemen and defensive linemen. Like the strength numbers and the speed numbers are competing with all those different positions. And every time I just took a step in the right direction that way, it just kind of was another confidence block to build. And like football and everything in life is a confidence game. The more confident you are, the better you're going to do at your job, the quicker you're going to make decisions, the quicker you're going to make correct decisions, and the quicker you're going to recover from making wrong decisions. And then just being able to believe in yourself and build that belief with the help of the coaching staff and the strength staff was just something Wisconsin's known for and what I bought into, and it paid off.
That's awesome. Drafted 4th round, 99th pick, Cleveland Browns. Walk us through that moment. After everything you've gone through to get there, what did that feel like to finally get your name called?
Yeah, I mean, that was that was another anticlimactic moment because I was the first pick of the fourth round, and the fourth round is the first round of the third day. So I was the first pick of the whole day after sitting through, like I was told I was going to be a third to fourth round pick. So sitting through the whole third round the night before, I was waiting, like, am I going to get a call? Am I not going to get a call? Was kind of like a little bit stressful, I guess, just waiting to see and like never getting a call.
Sure.
And then like 20 minutes before the draft is even supposed to start on Sunday or Saturday, I guess it was, I get a call and say, hey, this is Hugh Jackson with the Cleveland Browns. Like, we're going to take you with the first pick here in like 20 minutes. And then it's like, oh, that's awesome. And then I just sat there and waited for 20 minutes, and I was the first pick, and nobody was at our house for the party yet because nobody like assumed it was going to happen that fast. And so it was just me and my grandma and my parents and a couple friends who were there by then. And then it just kind of took the stress off the whole day, and I just kind of sat around and relaxed, and you can enjoy the party. But like all they do is call you and say, hey, we're going to take you. You get picked, and then like you don't hear from them for 2 or 3 days until they call you back. Unless you're like a first round pick, they don't fly you out for a press conference. So you just got to wait to see when I'm going to report and all this other stuff. And but it was a little anticlimactic just the way it happened.
I love it. That's so great. I mean, everybody watches the first day of the draft, and that's what they think about. And then you're just kind of pulling back the curtain here. You went to Cleveland, a team that went 1-15 your rookie year and was in the middle of a rebuild. What was that like as a young player trying to establish yourself in a struggling organization?
Yeah, I mean, that's the tough part, is you put in so much work in the film room, in the weight room, on the field, to not like get any results on Sundays is it's a grind. And like the NFL is different than college, and it's different than high school because you're not playing with the guy like high school. You're playing with the kids you grew up with. You're playing with your best friends on Friday nights. And you go to college, there's 120 guys on the team. And as a freshman class, you kind of bond. And at least back then before NIL, you bond and you grow together in 4 years. Like the first 2 years, you're grinding. You're trying to make it to the roster. And then your juniors and senior years, you're on the field, you're producing. And the NFL just stands for not for long. Like their turnover is so quick. Rookie deals, like, the average length of the career is like 2.5 years. You come in with guys and they're gone and out the door before you can even say hello and goodbye. So like when you're on a losing team, what Joe Thomas, who was a Wisconsin legend and who played in Cleveland for 11, 12 years, and he was there when I was a freshman. He was in his 10th or 11th year, or when I was a rookie, he was in his 10th or 11th year, and he gave just really good advice, like, you can only control what you can control. When you're losing a lot of games, like, you have to be a professional. A lot of guys will say, well, I don't have to work hard anymore. Like, there's nothing to play for. I can just like enjoy my life and de-stress by doing whatever bad habit, whether it's going out and partying or playing video games till 2 a.m. or whatever. Or you can be a professional. You can go up, you can show up, you can work hard and put good tape on film for yourself, even if your team's not winning. And that's kind of what you have to kind of transition your mind into to really get through those tough times. Because if you just let it go by the wayside and you don't care anymore, like if you put bad film out there, every team has access to your film. So all 32 teams are going to be looking, and they're like, oh, this guy, I mean, he's on a 1-15 team, but he's out there playing hard. He's running around. He's making tackles. Like, he's working. Like, we can use a guy like that. Or they come out and say, oh, this guy, he's just getting burned. His bad body language. He's not making plays. Like, that's not somebody we really want on our team, because if times get tough, like, we're not going to be able to rely on him. So I really had to believe and trust in that process of being able to put my best foot forward, even though we weren't producing, winning. And it's tough. That was probably one of the toughest parts of my NFL career, was doing that in those kind of situations. But like, as I got older and I played more, like, it paid off, and you can kind of look back and appreciate all the work you put through because of that.
No question. You definitely paid off, because in 2017, you finished tied for first in the NFL with 144 tackles and made the Pro Bowl. From 0 scholarship offers to Pro Bowler, what changed, and what stayed the same for Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was pretty steady in terms of my like work ethic and discipline. I got lucky that my high school coaching staff for football, really all my high school coaches for every sport, were good coaches and had good systems in place. Like my high school lifting program was a good lifting program for Wisconsin at that time, and it paid off because we were successful on the field and guys bought in. And like my juniors and senior years, everybody's lifting at 6:30 a.m. in the summer, and you see the benefits of that in the fall when you're faster, bigger, stronger than the other teams. And then I go to college at Wisconsin. It's a developmental program. Trust the process. Trust what the coaches are telling you. I had really good coaches throughout my whole career, from my position coach to my strength coach to the head coaches. Like everybody had good systems. Everybody had good processes. And I bought in. I believed in the systems, and you put in the work, and those tiny steps, the small strides you take forward every day, build and build and build. And it's kind of like exponential gains. Like you start slow, but once those blocks start stacking, they start getting steeper and steeper, and you start seeing those results quicker and quicker. But that initial phase, it takes time. And I think luckily for me, I was never like upper body wise very strong, like genetically. So in high school, I really worked hard on that, and it was just a slow peak. And then all of a sudden it started to explode. And by experiencing that, I just kind of was a moment where I just started to trust the process. And then, like I said, when I got to college, I started buying into what they were selling. And that just kind of same thing. I just believed. And like my freshman year, I didn't know anything. And all of a sudden we're playing scout team. All of a sudden I'm winning a bunch of reps, and then scout team player of the year. Sophomore year, starting as a rotational guy, start getting in games. And by the end of the bowl game, I was playing against South Carolina, Jadeveon Clowney, like those guys on the same field and getting sacks, getting tackles then. And then junior and senior year, starting to going up to an All-American level. And I just kind of kept that process. I was like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Just put your nose down, work when you need to work, and then listen to your coaches, and they're going to put you in the best positions possible, and you can use your athleticism to take over.
That's perfect. And then you signed a 5-year, multi-million-dollar deal with Jacksonville.
What was that?
Before we get into that, then you signed a multi-million-dollar deal with multi-million-dollar deal with Jacksonville. Before we get into that, something that you keep referring back to, Joe, that I think these young athletes need to hear is you need to embrace the process, because Aaron and I have seen too many athletes that just jump ship. They just head to the transfer portal. You didn't have that option. You had to embrace the process. What advice would you give these young athletes that aren't playing right away or not starting right away?
Yeah, I mean, it's the age-old saying, like, the grass isn't greener on the other side. Like, I think especially with recruiting, that's evident, where coaches are going to come in and they're going to sell you these big grand ideas, and then you show up at the program and you're just a number, 1 in 120 on a football team. And the thing that's going to separate you from everybody else is the intangibles. Like naturally, athletically, you've been gifted what you've been gifted, but effort isn't coachable. You just have it in you. You can get better. Attitude is something that anybody can be better at, and if you can put forth good effort and good attitude, like it'll take you so far. And then you just have to, like you said, trust the process. There's no easy one fix all like solution to anything in life. Like you're not gonna just become a millionaire overnight because something happened. Like you're gonna work hard at whatever your job is. You're gonna stack days, and then eventually you're going to stack financial success, and it'll work out for you. It's not just going to happen like that. And it's the same thing with athletically with football. Like, yes, some guys are genetic freaks and they can step on a football field or a basketball court and be the best on the court. I wasn't one of those. Like there's 5% of the NFL is one of those. Everybody else worked hard and trust the process, and it got them to where they're going to be. And
sure,
like no matter what school you're at, no matter where you go, it's going to be the same. You're going to have to put in the work to see the success on the field. You're going to have to trust your lifting coaches, your strength programs. You're going to have to build the foundation to be able to have a successful career in whatever you're going to do. Like school wise, you got to build the foundation of knowledge to be able to take it to whatever you're going to do in a career, football or basketball, any kind of sport. You have to build the foundation to be able to build off of it. And like I said, it's exponential. Like you build for so long, the base of the house, and then every single level gets smaller and smaller, and you can start passing those quicker and quicker. But the big tough part that a lot of people get stuck at is those first couple of levels where you don't see a ton of results because you've been building for so long and you don't see results right away. So I think that's kind of like the toughest thing mentally for a lot of young athletes, especially in the social media, Instagram, like day and age.
Sure.
Where you see all these people online doing all this crazy stuff. It's like, you don't know what their life is like outside of those 10-second clips. Like but they make it seem like it's the best life ever or whatever, or the best football player, the best workouts ever. But, they've been grinding and doing other stuff when the camera's not on. So I think it's tough for athletes these days. It was a little easier back in the day when you didn't compare yourself all the time to other people on social media, but the process is still the same, and you can still, if you believe in it, you can still stack those days and stack those wins.
I totally agree with you. Joe, I want to jump in. You said something too, not only trusting the process, but you talked about trusting the coaches and trusting their system and what they had laid out for you. Because I think that's another gap I think we see. I don't know why we think either as parents maybe, or even as the athletes, where it's like we don't trust the coaches. Like we think we know better. We've become kind of the armchair quarterback, and we think we know more than they do. And so will you just expand on that a little bit more? Just how you trusting the coaches got to where you are today?
Yeah, and whether it's coaches or teachers, like people in your lives are put there. Like teachers and coaches are teaching and coaching because they love helping people get better. They're not like at the foundation of it all. They're not doing it out of spite to make you fail. Like they want you to succeed. And if they're being hard on you, if they're making it tough, is because they want to build you up to be able to succeed when things get tough in life, because things are going to get tough in any part of your life. And I think that's the biggest thing, especially nowadays, like even in youth sports, high school sports. Yeah, there's a lot of yelling from the stands, a lot of, I could do that, or this coach doesn't know what they're doing kind of stuff. But like the coaches are there because they care and because they know what they're doing. And to be able to trust them that they're going to put you in the best position to get better, and they're going to put your team in the best position, and in the classroom your teacher's going to put you in the best position to learn and become more successful for the next grade or the next level of college or whatever it is. Like that's why they're there. And if they're hard on you, it's because they think you can achieve great things. And obviously, like it's not an end all be all. Like there are coaches out there that aren't great, and there are teachers out there that aren't great, but for the vast majority of it, I think there's a lot of projection and of like your own insecurities, or if your insecurities that your kid's not going to do something onto what the coach under the coaches, when the coach is just, well, what's best for you. And you really got to believe that, and you got to trust that and buy in.
That's awesome. We have a couple of your former teammates, David Gilbert, because I've been monitoring all the platforms. He says hi. So he's like, give Joe a big shout out. He's like, I need to reconnect with him. And then we had Sly Williams, who played with the Denver Broncos. He's like, he's a beast. So Sly,
bunch of good dudes, yeah.
We want to have you on. This is your shout out, your call out. He's got a different path. I mean, that's the thing, is for any kid out there that has a dream of getting there, and you just said it, minus 5% that are kind of the freak athletes, 95% earned it because they worked hard. They worked harder than anybody else.
Yeah, I played with a bunch of football players who weren't great athletes. Like they were good athletes, but man, like work ethic and drive and intelligence can take you a long, long way. And that's just on a football field. That's not anything else about life. Like work ethic and drive can take you a long way in whatever path you choose in life.
That's awesome. Thomas, are you back with us?
I think so. My screen's black. I mean, am I right side up now, or am I still
Yes, you're
sideways?
good. You're good.
Joe's probably like, what type of bubblegum shit is going on here? So anyway, so Joe, you played for 4 NFL teams, and then where you went from where is it here? There it is. You played for 4 NFL teams: Cleveland, Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, and Tennessee. What's the hardest part about playing in the NFL that people or fans don't really know or understand?
Well, I just think like a lot of people. I mean, it's better this day and age because of what 20 something years of Hard Knocks now, and Amazon Prime's like All Access or whatever they do. But there's just so much work that goes in behind the scenes, physically and intellectually. Like football is just a game of chess before the snap, and then once the snap goes, like the athleticism has to take over. But there's so much thinking, so much preparing, so much film study and application just to try to get into the best position possible before the ball is snapped, that people don't understand that it's really a 7-day-a-week job from August until February now. And then in the off season, it's a 5 to 6 day a week job just to get your body correct and keep working. It's not as mentally taxing because of those little couple months that you have off. You're not doing the same film study as you are in the season. But I think a lot of people don't understand exactly how much work goes into it, and thinks that just a lot of guys are just athletic freaks and they can just show up on Sundays and play football and just make millions of dollars because genetically they were born and lucky. And obviously there is a little bit of like that. Like we said, there's that 5% of guys who are just genetic freaks, but even they have to go and put in the hours in the weight room, in the film room. And I think it's just kind of overlooked at how much work goes into it. But it's good for everybody in college football and in the NFL. Like that amount of time management skills that you build and that amount of work ethic and determination and discipline that you build to be successful, like pays off for all of these different guys in every aspect of life. Like I have a bunch of college teammates who I lived in houses with. Like none of them played at professional football, but they're all successful in what they do because they work hard and they take those same kind of principles to what they're doing today in their everyday life. So
awesome. Joe, what did the end of your playing career feel like, or when did you make that decision to step away? Because here you were about to be a walk-on at North Dakota. You get a preferred walk-on at Wisconsin. You earn yourself a scholarship. Then you become an All-American. Then you get drafted. Then you become a Pro Bowler. Everything that you set out to pursue, you did. No one ever talks about what it's like to make that decision to retire. What was your mindset like, and walk us through it where you're okay, I'm done. I'm ready to walk away from the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm probably a little bit different than everybody else, but I was just, out skiing in the mountains out here in Colorado. And I was like, I kind of want to just ski this year instead of play football. And I mean, I was just, I stayed physically fit and I worked out that whole year after I kind of stopped playing. I was like, if a successful team calls me in the middle of the season or towards the end of the season, they need a linebacker to step in, I'm going to make sure I'm ready. But I really Pittsburgh, I think, called me halfway through the year, and through 2 of their linebackers had torn Achilles and another one tore his ACL, and they were 2-8 at that point. And I'm like, I don't really want to go back on the field and kind of risk a big knee injury, a big Achilles injury or something, when I got it good here, and I don't need to, especially for a team that's not pushing the playoffs at that point in time. And so once that happened, I was like, yeah, I'm probably just kind of done with football, unless some extraordinary circumstance comes up. Yeah, maybe. But my wife's starting a business out here in Colorado. We have at that time we had 1 kid, another on the way. It was just I kind of wanted to just settle down and quit bopping around, and my body, I've had a good successful career. I'm satisfied with it. And I like being outside. I like fishing in the fall. I like skiing in the winter. And I wasn't able to do any of those things when you're playing football because you're busy all fall and winter. So it was good. I think that's kind of like I said, it was probably a little simpler for me than some other people, but that's kind of what I was at.
I love it. You mentioned so.
Oops,
You
Thomas,
would go time dancing. Yeah.
your audio's not very good. So try it again. Oh, I'll take it from here. We can't hear you. You're maybe log back out and log back in.
Another one.
Try it again. So I don't know where he was headed with those questions, but I'll pick it up. So talk about the transition out, like what was that like to you were fortunate and lucky to say, okay, I've had my fair share of fun. I'm done. I want to do these other things. I want to settle down with my wife, open a business. We have 2 kids. Some guys don't have that luxury. They either have to leave via injury or, what's the advice or guidance you would give, I guess, any athlete on how to, take ownership and control of your career, even if it were to say end with injury?
Yeah, I mean, and like, I'm lucky that I didn't have any major injuries and I didn't have to have it cut short because of something like that. But I think it's the same. Like I said, I have a bunch of friends that had happened to them and they were able to find like meaning in their lives and their work going forward. And it's just taking the principles and the lessons that you learned on the field, in the weight room, in the locker room with your buddies, like taking those principles and applying them to your life and choosing a direction that you want your life to go in and then pursuing it. Like I've got friends who like there are a couple one of my teammates who tore his ACLs 4 times in college. He's a dentist now. Like he wanted to be a dentist. He retired from playing football medically at Wisconsin, and then he went to dental school at Marquette, and now he's a dentist. They're doing good stuff. I got another friend who's an engineer, another friend who's an orthodontist. They run an orthodontist clinic together. Like they have the set path, and then they found a new goal, a new vision for their lives that they wanted to work towards. And that's kind of what me and my wife at the dance studio and our outdoor like recreation and a little bit of our conservation kind of stuff that we do out here in Colorado. Like you got to find a new outlet just to kind of pursue and to work towards and like throw yourself in. Like you're not an expert, but you're just going to be a sponge. You're going to learn, you're going to work hard, you're going to work your way up. And the people who have good work ethics, who have good drive, who have good discipline, like they end up successful. They end up floating to the top. It's not by accident. And like I like to say, like that house that I lived in college, everybody but me had to medically retire, and they're all successful in what they chose to do because they were all good dudes. They all had good work ethics, and they didn't get any legs up. They didn't marry into billionaire families or millionaire families. They set out for the path that they chose, and they worked hard, and now they're doing so well right now because of it.
That's awesome. Yeah, kids, whatever it is, for all you athletes listening, it's so important to like never get up on your dreams. And what is your life plan? That's so cool that you have an orthodontist friend, a dentist friend, a engineering friend, and football was a part of that, but it wasn't the only part of it. And same goes for you. Like, you were so blessed to have the time you had in the NFL, but your life is so much more than that. So I didn't know you guys were into conservation work. So you'll have to share a little bit about that with me, because I'd love to learn more about that work. And then how I kind of want to conclude this is how, if you're open to it, how can people connect with you, reach out to you? Because I know these athletes are just chomping at the bit for guidance of how to make it, I think, in the world where it's so noisy.
Yeah, I mean, conservation wise, I run a fishing event, a fly fishing event every year with some NFL, current and former NFL guys. We go up, last couple of years, we've been going to Montana near Missoula and doing a weekend of fly fishing. And I kind of rope in a conservation organization called Western Rivers Conservancy.
Yeah.
And basically they are a private, they're a 501c3, and they're like a private entity that goes in and buys property in the West, mostly with water, whether it's rivers, creeks, lakes, ponds, whatever in it. And then they either work to turn the property over to the state or to public lands or a conservation easement, because the states and the federal government, they can't just go in and buy something as soon as it becomes for sale, because they have to get all the checks and balances of getting the grants, getting the funding, getting approved for this, getting approved for to be able to spend this money here. So what Western Rivers does is they go in and they buy up the properties and they hold it. They work a little bit on it. They help make it a little bit better of a conservation ecosystem. And then, like in here in Colorado, by the time Colorado Parks and Wildlife is ready to buy it, they sell it to Colorado Parks and Wildlife, and then they turn it over to the public. So there's a couple of good properties out here on Terriell Creek and Michigan Creek and the San Luis River that they've been doing the last couple of years through that. But if you go on their website, like Western Rivers Conservancy, they got big projects all over the West. And especially in the West, we're arid climate, like the rivers, the water is the lifeblood of society. It's an important resource. So if we can conserve and protect as much of it as possible, like that's just going to benefit us in the long run. So that's kind of what I go through and kind of the event we kind of build for.
That's awesome. I love it. I'm a fly fisher woman. I love to get out. It's amazing. There's nothing more relaxing than to be on the river. And yeah, I love it. So that's awesome. Thank you I think we need more of that. And again, it just shows like there's so much more going on that you can take your passions to, that it doesn't stop.
Yeah, exactly.
So share with our audience. I'd love to get them connected with you. Where can they reach you? How can they connect with you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of off social medias these days. I find myself staring at my phone too much, and it really annoys me. So I try to take off social media a bunch. But I do have Instagram on my iPad, which I don't use as much. So yeah, you can reach out to me on Instagram. I think my name's The Show Goes On.
Yes.
SCHO. I haven't looked at it in a little bit. And that's probably the main access. Or
LinkedIn, kids. LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn. You could reach out and message me on LinkedIn. I check that probably more than anything else because I get notifications for it. Those two would be good avenues just to be able to reach out.
You have just the most incredible story. So thank you. I know you and your wife are incredibly busy right now with the dance studio and recital season. So thank you for taking time out to spend it with us. I know Thomas was bummed with his technical issues he was having. So he's like, please tell Joe. I said, thank you. I was like, I certainly will. We need to
He's
connect.
Just doing the Wisconsin goodbye from our last time when I accidentally hung up ahead of time.
I'll remind him of that one.
Yeah.
But we're in your neck of the woods. We live in your back. We're in your backyard essentially. So it's so incredible. You have been so generous, so insightful. And we're so grateful because I think these are the stories that they don't hear. You hear the Tom Brady's or you hear the Peyton Manning stories, but there's a lot of other guys that make it that have incredible stories that, kids can, I think, emulate, follow, and be inspired by. And so just thank you for being you. Thank you for the work that you're doing with the Conservancy. And I think giving back, with the dance studio that you and your wife had, I think that's incredible. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you got it. I appreciate you for having me. And yeah. My story is just one of a lot. There's lots of guys all over the world, all over the country, of kids everywhere, from my hometown, from your hometown, from the middle of nowhere, Idaho. Played with some guys a guy from Alaska. Like, you never know where people are going to pop up from. So it can happen anywhere. Yep.
That's right, kids. It can be you. So until next week, this is Path to the Pros, and Thomas and I will be back next Thursday night at 6 p.m.